Welcome to this assembly guide for the Tiny Treehouse Kit, available for purchase in our Etsy shop. You'll find the link in the description below. In this video, we'll walk you through each step of the assembly process to ensure a smooth and precise build. With clear, easy-to-follow instructions, this guide will help you complete the project successfully. Let's get started. For assembly, we'll need tacky glue, which I recommend as it dries quickly and creates a strong bond for the parts. To apply the glue, a wooden stick or brush works well, allowing for more control. Additionally, you'll need a lighter and scissors to construct the ladder for the house. Finally, have a mat or piece of cardboard on hand to protect your work surface during the build. Let's take a quick look at what's included in our kit. We have a set of fairy lights to illuminate the house, a piece of rope for crafting the ladder, and all the laser-cut plywood parts needed to build the structure. I recommend taking out all the parts and arranging them neatly on the table. This will help you easily identify each piece and understand its place in the build. The parts we're working with first will be placed inside the house, so they won't be visible once assembled. These pieces will form the support for the box that holds the light. The light box will fit securely into this opening, providing a stable base inside the house. To create the pocket for the backlight, you'll need to glue these pieces together in 3 layers. This layering will form an arch, which will later hold the light. You can place the wall of the house temporarily in its position to ensure that the backlight pocket doesn't obstruct the slots where the wall will later be inserted. Next, install the upper section to confirm that the light box fits freely and securely in place. The next element we'll assemble is the stand for the house, designed to be inserted into a planter or any location of your choice. To assemble it correctly, start with the smaller part, fitting it into place. It only inserts in the correct orientation, so align it carefully. Once the smaller part is in place, insert the larger piece. After confirming their positions, you can glue these parts together. At this stage, I recommend not gluing the stand into the base of the house yet, as it will make the remaining steps easier to complete without the stand in the way. Once you've applied the glue, place the stand upside down to dry. Now, we can begin building the frame of the house by installing the front and back walls. Start by applying glue to the surfaces that will connect with the side walls, as well as to the bottom edge of each part to ensure it adheres to the base of the house. Repeat this process with the back wall. Once the front and back walls are in place, you can install the side walls. Apply glue to the grooves where the side walls will connect to the front and back walls, as well as to the bottom edges that will meet the base of the house. To correctly determine the top and bottom sides of the side walls, look for the cutouts. These should be at the top, as the roof support will fit into these grooves. Make sure all parts are tightly connected to each other for a secure build. Now, let's assemble the porch of the house. The first part to install is the base, which resembles brickwork. This piece should be placed on the ledge in front of the house's base. It needs to rest against the front wall of the house with no gap between them. It's important to ensure that the base is centered and does not extend beyond the edges of the house's base. Next, we'll glue the support for the roof above the porch. Start with the part that attaches to the front wall of the house and will provide support for the roof at the rear. It's crucial at this stage not to confuse which part goes to the front and which to the back. On the screen, you can see markings to help distinguish the front and back parts. The part we need now is slightly shorter and has no patterns at the bottom. While the glue at the base of the porch is drying, now is a good time to install the roof supports. These supports should be inserted into the grooves on the side walls. Apply a thin strip of glue to the areas where the supports will attach to the side walls. A small portion of these supports will extend beyond the walls of the house, providing the necessary support for the roof. Install both supports. Though they may feel loose at first, don't worry. Once the glue dries, they will become rigid and provide solid support for the roof. Now it's time to install the decorative balustrades for the porch. You'll notice 2 holes on the porch roof support, which you glued to the front wall of the house. Insert 1 balustrade into each hole, making sure it's positioned correctly in relation to the base of the house. The thinner legs of the balustrades should be at the top. Next, install the front wall of the porch roof support. This piece is slightly longer than the one at the back and needs to be placed on top of the balustrades, while also being inserted into the grooves in the base of the porch, which resembles brickwork. Now, let's install the roof on the porch. The roof consists of 2 halves of different lengths. The shorter half should go underneath the longer one. Start by installing the shorter piece. Apply glue only to the edges, as this is the only area that will come into contact with other parts. Position the shorter piece so that it does not extend beyond the peak of the structure. Next, install the longer piece, placing it on top of the shorter one. This will create a sharp angle at the top of the roof. Before moving on to the main roof installation, take a moment to inspect the porch while the glue is still wet. This is your opportunity to adjust or realign any parts. Make sure everything is in place, level, and properly aligned. Now let's tackle the main roof installation. The roof should have a slight curve, but the piece is initially flat. Fortunately, it bends and we can install it with a beautiful, smooth curve. For this, we'll need masking tape. While transparent tape can work, I recommend using masking tape because it's easy to remove later without leaving any marks or glue residue. Before gluing the roof to the model, we'll first connect the 2 halves of the roof. To do this, apply strips of tape to the inside of the roof pieces. Be careful not to let the tape overlap the roof supports, as these areas will be glued to ensure a secure fit. Turn the roof piece over and place it onto the roof supports. Now, you can apply the masking tape to hold the halves together. 3 strips of tape should be sufficient. Once the halves are connected, apply the roof to the house and check how well it fits. Finally, before gluing, I also recommend using tape on the outside to keep everything aligned. Use as much tape as you need, as we will remove it later once the roof is securely in place. Now, place the roof in position to check how well everything fits together. If you're satisfied with the fit and the roof is aligned as it should be, you can begin the gluing process. Start by applying glue to all the roof supports and the upper edges of the walls. Once the glue is applied, carefully place the roof onto the supports. To ensure the bend holds in place, apply pressure to the roof until the glue dries. Since we don't want to hold the model in place for an extended period, use adhesive tape to secure the roof. Apply as much tape as necessary, as it will be removed later. Make sure to glue each corner thoroughly to prevent the roof from shifting or detaching from the supports. This will ensure that once the glue dries, the roof will be securely held in place. While the glue is drying, let's start making the rope ladder. This involves tying a series of knots, each at an equal distance, which will support the individual steps. Before tightening each knot, make sure it's in the correct position and properly spaced. It's much easier to adjust the knots before they're fully tightened. This part of the process takes the most time and can be a bit tricky, but it's essential for a sturdy ladder. You can decide how many steps you want on your ladder. There are 6 included in the kit. If you want a longer ladder, I suggest spacing the knots further apart. Once all the knots are tied, apply glue to each individual step and attach them to the knots. When you're happy with the look of the ladder, attach it to the base of the model. Use the rectangular piece included in the kit, gluing it to the bottom front of the ladder to secure it in place. This will prevent the ladder from coming loose. Once the ladder is positioned and you're satisfied with how it looks, trim off any excess rope. To prevent the rope from unraveling, I recommend carefully using a lighter or matches to melt the edges of the rope. Now that the house is nearly complete and the glue is drying, let's install the backlight. Start by placing the batteries inside the base of the light. If the light doesn't turn on, try reversing the batteries. Once the batteries are in place, untwist the string of lights and carefully insert it into the house. The twist in the string actually works to our advantage, as it helps distribute the lights evenly throughout the interior as you insert them. To keep the lights in place, press the wire gently with the box itself to ensure it sits tightly inside the house and doesn't shift around. Now, the house is almost finished. All that's left is to wait for the glue to dry. If you're using tacky glue like I am, I recommend waiting at least 2 hours for it to set. If you're using school glue, I suggest letting it dry overnight. In any case, it's better to wait a little longer than to risk needing to redo the roof later. Once you're confident the glue has fully dried and the roof is secure, carefully remove the tape and admire your work. When it comes to installing the support that goes into the ground, I recommend not gluing it at this point. This way, if you ever want to use the house as a nightlight or as part of a board game, you can easily remove it from the base and use it in a different way. Congratulations on completing your fairy house. With its magical glow and intricate details, your new creation is sure to bring a touch of enchantment wherever it's placed. We hope you enjoyed the process and found this guide helpful. If you'd like to explore more whimsical kits or discover other ways to add a magical touch to your projects, be sure to check out our Etsy shop, Nightingale Works Art. You can find the link in the description below. Thank you for watching and enjoy your beautiful new fairy house.